We want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and her network on 𝙏𝙤𝙤𝙤 TV channels 250 and 251. 𝙏𝙤𝙤 TV is a free app that can be downloaded on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. 𝙏𝙤𝙤 TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire Sticks, Roku and Roku Sticks, and all TVs 2016 and forward. Live Now is a show all about finding the synergy and body-minded spirit. Please join us as we tackle intense topics of conversation that will spur your mind, steer your soul, and give you some direction. With that said, we are excited to dive into tonight's topic with
you. Live Now with esteemed and amazing Veenu Keller, and I'm Chuck Hogan. We're so blessed to be on with you tonight. And, you know, it's exciting because every week we challenge ourselves to come up with very interesting topics that are on the tops of our minds as well as our hearts. And it's interesting as we entered into this conversation this evening that the topic tonight is about time blocking, and also this topic that seems to be at the forefront of so many things, which is procrastination, and how these two things can live synonymously while serving you in your life, and yet also doing something that is really important, which is creating a little bit more ease of use. So how are you, Veenu? How are you feeling tonight?
I'm doing amazing, Chuck. Like you said, it's so great to be here with you and really dive into these, because last week we talked about procrastination. So I think it was only great that we talk about probably one of the easiest ways to overcome procrastination, besides creating good habits like we talked about last week. It's that whole time blocking. And I know for one, that has really helped me in my life to let go of procrastination. Is like when I schedule it, I make it happen. And, you know, I was telling people that a long time ago, I would never reach success because the rules of me reaching success were so hard for me to reach it that I was never going to reach it. And now I literally changed the rules about 2 years ago, where if I complete everything on my daily calendar on my iPhone, then when I go to bed, I feel successful. And somebody asks, like, so how often do you feel successful? I'm like, every freaking day. Every day I'm successful, especially on Saturdays and Sundays when I got nothing on there.
It's amen, sister. Amen. And part of this is what's your definition of success? For some, it could be like a Saturday and Sunday, and you're like going, I'm relaxing, I'm recuperating, I'm getting some R&R, I'm feeling more full, I'm feeling more rejuvenated. It's like, awesome. So why is this important? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you get to decide where you're time blocking, and more so, why you're time blocking. I've met people and they go, oh, I want to learn all about time blocking, Chuck. Just show me. And it's like, okay, why? Just can help me understand. Why is it so important to you? They go, oh, well, I have all these outcomes and goals. I have these dreams, these aspirations, and I know successful people schedule stuff. To your point, Veenu, I was like, yes, but why do they schedule? And they kind of looked at me with a blank stare, and they're like, well, I thought that's what you had to do in order to be successful. I said, well, there is a premise about life, and that is if you want to be successful, you have to take mammoth action. And if you're going to take mammoth action, then isn't it great if you could actually be deliberate about the action that you're taking?
Right.
And so I can give you mud, and in the hands of a skilled person that's actually on schedule and has a plan, they can build a house out of that mud. But left in the hands of a person who's just flinging mud, you may have some interesting art on a wall. You may have some interesting art on the floor. You may have interesting art on you, and yet never build a house. So why is it important for you? And there's this little, along with procrastination, there's the flip side of that coin. And it's called prioritization. And much like you, Veenu, I started learning a while ago. It's like, if it's important to me, and I need for this to happen in my world, then I need to prioritize this stuff. I actually need to put together a game plan and make sure that not only everyone else's needs are being met, because we all have these rules, these like infamous rules that go along with, if I'm going to get there, then I must do this. I have to have this. I need this. I go, that's great. And is that really true?
Right.
Because you can screw up your own prioritization simply by telling yourself untruths or perceptions of them. So why do we go there? Well, probably one of the fastest ways to learn how to time block and to learn how to prioritize is to be present. Lots of P words flying around today. I just noticed that. So, in order to evade procrastination, prioritize, and we get to commit to getting clear about the presence required to deliver. So, yeah, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, something I learned from one of our old mentors, Scott Harris. He talked about calendaring. Calendaring is different from scheduling. And I love it because one of the things I did is follow his skill. He says, get creative, get colorful markers and stuff, get a calendar, like literally a calendar off your phone, like a manual calendar. I know that many people don't have those anymore. And he's like, and color code it. Like, what are your non-negotiables? So I know that my husband travels most of the time, at least once a month. So that's the first thing I did. Since I had his calendar for the whole year, I literally, his color is blue. My color's purple. The twins, when they're off school, it's yellow. And when we're doing family things together, it's green. And so the first thing I did is schedule his stuff. Then I scheduled the twin stuff. Then I scheduled my stuff, and then I scheduled the family stuff. That's already on my calendar all for 2024 for what I can foresee at this point. And then I made sure that my schedule matched my calendar. And then as things come up, like family trips and stuff, then I go ahead and I put that on there on the calendar too. So I am making everything a priority first. Everything else comes after. So I love that you said that. Prioritize, right? What are your non-negotiables? What really matters? Like my kids' Valentine's Day stuff, my kids' field trips day stuff. Those are non-negotiables to them, which make it a non-negotiable to me. So I need to make sure I put that out there. And although I may not be chaperoning, because I got one twin that's like, yeah, come. And the other twin's like, no, stay. So I'm not.
Like I said, there's two sides to every coin.
Right. Well, when my other boys, when it was like, I always made that a priority. And that's why I brought that up is that, I worked 3 jobs. And one thing that I always wanted for my children is to know that no matter what, you come first. That was one way I would take off from all my jobs and say, I have a field trip with this child and I'm going, which made them feel special. And to this day, that's what they remember. Mom being at my games and mom going to my field trips. The twins, whole nother picture.
It is. And again, it's reasons and seasons.
Yes.
Right. And on top of that, there's these kind of unspokens. And they go to our moral center, and that is the must always and the must nevers. Like must always prioritize family. And I go, and here's an important part about that. You're part of the family.
Right.
It's not in light of you. It's not in spite of you. It's in conjunction with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's huge. As times there have been in our lives, both my wife's and mine, where we prioritize the kids. And it's like not chastising anyone for that. There are times when they're babies and there's certain things going on. And even into the young adult life, there's prioritization. Now, what constitutes a priority though? Because there's been some confusion around, I prioritize this. No, you chose that. They're like, well, what's the difference? Said, well, perceived value and sequence. Johnny bit the dog bit Johnny. Same players, different sequence, different outcome. So if you're taking care of people and you go, I'm taking care of the family, and I go, okay, great. Are you a member of the family? Then are you taking care of you too?
I like that because it goes back to one of the episodes that we talked about self-care.
Yes.
And celebrating that. Like today, I went and I had one of my massages done. And this morning I got home and Brian's like, wow, you look so relaxed. And I'm like, I feel relaxed. He's like, I'm so glad that you did that. Good for you. And I prioritize it now. I got away from it. I used to schedule something for me that made me relax and forget about my work schedule and forget about that I'm mom and forget about that I'm a wife, but just really tune into me at least twice a month. And I got away from it. And it
Nice.
literally was not until we had one of our episodes not so long ago that talked about self-care and stuff. And, as you know, I'm a person of integrity. So if I'm going to be speaking to our audience about it, I want to make sure I'm living it. And it was a check-in for me. I'm like, wow, I'm not living this. So immediately I started scheduling them again. And so, it's a priority now. Like it is literally a priority. That's one thing that I do for me. And then everything else gets scheduled around it. And that's what I want to make a point also is that when you schedule it, stick to it.
Yes.
Schedule things around it.
Yes.
Just like, make it one of your non-negotiables is you need to be a non-negotiable. It's, you've heard Chuck and I say this many times before, put on your own mask first. You can't give anything out of your cup if there's nothing left to give. So it's making that a non-negotiable. What are you doing for yourself? Put that on your calendar. Prioritize that as well.
Again, and I love you. You said something that's uber profound as always. And that is there's a difference between giving yourself that gift because you understand why it's so important. So you're living it. You're not just doing it.
Mhm.
That is extremely different. Now people go, okay, now it's just semantics, Chuck. No. Let's be very clear. When you're living it, you're fully engaged in it. You're present, you're authentic, you're real, and you understand the why behind it.
And it's the action with it.
Definitely. That we've said this. You can be doing your best, never being your best. When you're being your best, you'll always do your best. So, example, if I'm going to the gym, but I'm not my best, I'm going to have a subpar workout. And I don't care how heavy a weight you lift. You're like going, oh, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. You're going to leave the gym going, that was a whooping.
I just want to comment on that because I was talking about this in my TV show last week. So I went to the gym last week and I had this belief that I had to be part of the 5 o'clock club, right? That successful entrepreneurs get up at 5:30 and they go to the gym. Like that's the first thing that we do. So I'm literally at the gym and thanks to our, one of our friends and mentors, Clark, he's like, no, you do your own body weight first. Like do your workout. You don't need weights, do the ropes, do jumping jacks, all this stuff. And then get into the hot sauna where you work out. So I'm like, okay. So it is literally 5:30. And at 5:45, I've scheduled myself for my elliptical bike. And the whole time I'm like watching my clock going 5:31. Oh my God. Why am I here? 5:35. Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and do this now. I'm like, okay, great. I get to get in the elliptical sauna and do the sauna. And I'm there. 5:45. Oh gosh. Okay. 5:47. Why am I here? Like I'm so tired. That is the talk I'm telling myself. So
Yeah.
immediately I get out and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give up this membership. I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to be here. I'm so tired. I get home, I take a shower. I'm so tired. And I was just venting to my best friend. And she's like, so why are you going at 5:30 in the morning? And I'm like, I mean, because like, that's what entrepreneurs do. She goes, okay, so, and I'm paraphrasing, this is how I interpret it. She goes, so like, that means that you're not an entrepreneur if you don't get up at 5:30. And I'm like, well, no, because I am an entrepreneur. And she says, okay, so I'm not understanding why you're going when you're tired. She goes, so when are you awake? And I said, well, when I take the kids to school, I'm definitely awake when I get back. She goes, so can't you drop the kids off at school and then go? And I'm like, huh, yeah. So I started doing that, Chuck.
Yeah.
And now it's not a problem. There's like no excuse to quit. There's like, I've been going regularly. I have no more excuses. And it's amazing that we think we have to prioritize it. We think we have to do it at a certain time.
And this is the why and
Right.
the reason and the season. It becomes so imperative for all of us that we actually are present so we can actually get out of our own head. See, presence isn't about being present for everybody else. Presence is you show up first so that you get to be present
Right.
and engage with everyone else. So again, so grateful for you because there's so many distinctions wrapped around this. I know people who will schedule stuff and regret it the entire time they've scheduled it. Because why? Because if you don't schedule it, you won't do it. And they're like going, okay, isn't that the rule? And I go, no, that's kind of a saying. Because have you ever had something amazing happen in your life and it just happened by happenstance? And I go, oh, but okay, now you're just confusing me, Chuck, because you said schedule it so that way you could have success. I said, well, here's the deal. Fortune favors the prepared mind and soul. So that doesn't mean that the only time you're preparing is when you actually schedule the preparation. It means that when opportunity avails itself, you get to decide if that's an engagement that is an opportunity for you. And you can prioritize that moment. You can prioritize that minute. You can prioritize that magic that just happened. And it's like going, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about this, but somehow the universe manifested it because life is happening to me, or is it happening for me?
Or is it happening through us?
And with us. And this is where nothing is absolute.
Right.
So prioritization, it's very easy. The priority, and this is a Scott Harris thing. Ironically enough, you mentioned him earlier. He used to use this comparative analysis. He goes, this or that. So, because he's a variety freak. He just can't do one thing. Like he had to do Ironmans and then, insane like mega, marathons and all these other things, ultra marathons. And so Scott is one of those people that's bent on having enough variety. So he'd go, okay, I can't just have the same thing for breakfast because all of a sudden I'd see something the kids are having. I was like, ooh, that's not normally in my food wheel, but those protein banana pancakes look pretty good this morning. So what would be better for me? My carnivore diet or these banana protein pancakes this morning? This or that? And it's a feeling, and let's not be dismissive about this. There's this kind of this premise in the world today that, oh, it's all woo woo. Oh, I've got to count all the calories. They're like, if it's too woo woo, then that's not science, Chuck. That's not real. Come on, Veenu. Show me the calories, show me the protein, show me the fiber. And I'm like going, okay, if you had the pancakes, how would it make you feel? And they go, that would be amazing. And it's like, do it.
Right.
Why? Because it made you happy. It made you happy. Our friend 𝙗𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, he is a PhD nutritionist. And he said, Spain has just become the hottest blue zone in the last 12 months in the world. It's outpaced Japan, Okinawa. It's outpaced Hong Kong.
What does that mean, blue zone?
So blue zone is people living the healthiest, longest lives over centurions. They have the most centurions. And Spain has just surpassed them all. And they're like going, wait a second. Don't Spaniards smoke and drink? And they're like going, uh-huh.
They're happy.
Bingo. So that it's not drinking in excess. It's not smoking in excess. In fact, it's social. It's for engagement. It's for loving connection. It's for camaraderie. So they started noticing that this happiness quotient. The other thing the Spaniards are really great at? Siestas.
Yes, they nap. They take naps during the day, and they don't feel guilty for it.
And there is the key. Because if your happiness is coming as a byproduct of guilt, or because this is the formula for other people's success.
Right.
Because I was taught, let's go ahead and model success. Let's do what other people do. Let's just do what all the richest people do and hope that we're going to get the same thing. And I go, oh, hopium's a terrible drug. In fact, that's probably a worse addiction to get caught up in by comparison to creating a clear path for yourself.
Right.
And neither one of us is proposing for a moment that you don't try stuff on.
No, but I also think that you got to take into consideration, what does your life look like? What are the patterns in your life?
Yes.
Like I have a newborn grandson, and he takes a lot. So his mom has to do different things. Her whole schedule has changed because she has one going to kindergarten. She has one waking up every 3 hours, right? So life changes. So if she wanted to be something and model something, there's no way, her life just changed. So you have to do what you can that's going to benefit your life.
Yes.
And that's the key thing is yes, waking up at 5:30 was a great time for me to wake up. The kids are still sleeping. It's a great time, but it wasn't good for me.
Yes.
That was not my time.
And you'll know it when you actually start using these monikers. I'm sacrificing an hour of my sleep so I can get up early and fit this in. I go, there's nothing about that that sounds awesome. You're like, I'm sacrificing, I'm fitting it in. So part of this is when you start to find your stride and your flow. And it doesn't always mean it's going to be convenient. It may, though, mean that it's more sustainable. It may mean that it actually has more value to you because now you're not dead dog tired. And the workout that you are getting, because I'm going, if it's creating more stress and adrenal fatigue because of the time, and again,
totally negating what you're doing, that self-talk.
Yes.
Why do people do one more rep or whatever? It's not because they're like, oh, I can't do it, this sucks, I'm not going to be able to lift it, there's no way. No, they're telling themselves like, you got this, come on, one more, you got this, show me what you got, show me what it's the positive build
pulling you.
Yes, instead of the negative beat down.
Love that.
And that was what I noticed in the car. And that's why I'm like, I was just venting to my best friend about it. I'm like, I totally that was a waste of time, literally. Because physically I was there, but emotionally, mentally, and everything that mattered in my body, the frequency in my body was not there by no means.
And don't just think this about workouts.
Right.
There are people in their careers that are living this life. There's people in their spirituality who are living this life. They go, yay, we're going to church. And then they come back and they go, man, that was a long sermon. Boy, pastor or reverend or father was on. Woo, he was on, wasn't he? I go, do you remember?
A little bit too much.
You're like going, I don't know. The spirit was in him, but the spirit got sucked out of me.
Right.
And this is where that commitment, this is where that presence, that time is. I've been in environments where someone spoke for 5 minutes and it was so powerful. Could have been a question, could have been a clarifying moment, could have been an opportunity just to shed some light. They weren't espousing, they weren't preaching, but boy, did it elevate the consciousness in the space. And it's like, wow, that's a drop the mic moment.
Right.
Then I've been in rooms where they've been talking for hours. You gotta go, I can't get that time back. So what was the difference? Well, was it them? Was it you? We may never know.
I think it's both. I think it's the energy that person comes with, but I also think it's the energy you have to receive it.
Definitely.
And that it brings us back to, what are we prioritizing in our life? Mm-hmm. If church is a priority, why? For you or for someone else?
Well, and that's part of, because again, where 2 or 3 are gathered, I am here.
Correct.
Now, does that mean that you need to be in a congregation of thousands? Does that mean that you actually need to be near anyone else? Meditation, the last time I saw, i.e. prayer, i.e. connection to spirit, higher power, energy, has nothing to do other than your relationship with the divine.
Right. Which is a whole nother topic.
Yes, we're not going
to go down that rabbit hole tonight, but we will say this is like, what you schedule and prioritize is what you tend to follow through with. So what are your non-negotiables? And the other thing is not just looking at what are you prioritizing, what are you not prioritizing? What are you not scheduling?
And understand how you process that scheduling. So let's be clear. Some people adopt a strategy of chunking down. They go, I just need to be very specific and do this one thing. Yet they have some rules around that. I need to be able to do this one thing really, really, really well. They go, you just started. You never played pickleball before. And you want to be the pickleball pro. And I'm like, going, okay, for the love of Pete. Then they go, is there anything wrong with that? I have high standards. No one's criticizing. Just, are you enjoying this learning? Are you up for the lessons? And they're like, well, like you said, I'm just starting out. And I go, doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. Then on the other side, there's people who chunk up. They go, you know what? I need a lot of different ways to be able to be healthy. So if that's walking, running, biking, and that could be walking the dog, walking your congratulations on your grandson. And so in the stroller, whatever the case might be, it's like, okay, great. But they chunk up. They're like going, oh, there's so many ways for me to be healthy and vital. There's so many ways for me to be spiritual. However they're taking that time. And so know what works for you. You don't have to multitask. We're not asking you when you chunk up to do 5 things at the same time. What we're saying is pick something.
Right.
Anything.
I tell you, one of the strategies that I use for my clients, especially those ones that feel overwhelmed a lot. I'm glad that you talked about the chunking up and chunking down, because that's one of the strategies I use, is that what I have found that those that get overwhelmed easily, which creates that fight or flight response, right? Anxiety, it's too much. There's too many details. There's too many things to do, not enough time to do it. Instead of there's so much time and so little to do, and chunking up, it's, you could chunk up to, okay, I got kids, I got work, and I got spouse. That's chunking up. That's 3 areas that you got to do. Yep. Then once you have that, now you start to chunk down and detail it. So when I've taught my clients that, like I would do it with like my teenage kids that I coach about school, right? They get so overwhelmed, like there's so much homework, there's all these tests. So what's the priority? What's due now? What tests do you have now? Let's go ahead and chunk that, right? Tests, schoolwork, homework, reports, whatever. And then we detail it. And they have the most successful week because they're not in the emotions of overwhelm, anxiety.
Yes.
They feel it's more structured, so it's easy to follow. It gives them a clear picture so they're able to see it. It's touching on the different of their back, the visual, auditory, kinesthetics. It's, what do you need to remember that? Is it something that you need to touch? Is it something you need to hear? Is it something you need to see?
Yes.
So there's a lot of different ways to make it so you're able to prioritize without feeling overwhelmed. Because I think that that's another reason why people are afraid, or lack thereof, prioritization, is that they get overwhelmed.
Yes.
That I commit to it because I put it down. I have to do it. There's no have to's. And Chuck and I talk about this all the time. What do you get to do? What do you get to make your day look like?
And part of this is that overwhelm is real. And if you know this about yourself, then get specific. Because the more options you give yourself, it actually creates overwhelm. And if you happen to be coined and are proudly wearing that banner of being ADHD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, or autistic, people go, what do you mean proudly wearing it? Well, there are some people who have self-diagnosed. They've never even been diagnosed. They have never been to a professional, and yet they have some symptoms. And I'm just going to tell you, we all have symptoms. we all have things and stuff. Understanding how you function and not making yourself wrong for it.
Yeah.
Or that anything you say after I have or I am, you are.
Right.
Because when you say I have this, you're like going, okay, this is me. Whatever moniker subsequently comes after that. And so I started getting really, really, really proficient, Veenu, at time blocking. And people go, okay, this time blocking thing, I've heard about this, but it's like a unicorn. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. And it's like, well, it's actually really simple. In fact, you may be time blocking and you don't even know it. So we have a friend, Joseph McClendon III, and Joseph is brilliant. And he goes, you know what's brilliant about this device, this beautiful little device? He goes, it's called a smartphone. And the operable word that comes before the phone is that it's smart. So I can actually talk to it. And if I have something that I need to be reminded about, you know what's cool? I can tell it to remind me, and it will. He goes, so do you know how often my alarm's going off? He goes, all the freaking time. And there's a reason for it. He goes, because it's not that I'm forgetting stuff, but a friendly reminder. And hey, here's the secret. You can remind you. And I go, I love that about him. Because he's like going, use the device for all of its applications, not just for social media, not for checking in, not for checking your stock portfolio, not for just, when's your hair appointment? That's great. That's time blocking because that's self-care. So I'm going to give you points for that. And Veenu brought up a great point. I started using a time blocking technique where I actually started color coding my life. So I did it in faith, family, fitness, finance. And it's like, so how would something like that look? And I said, well, it's actually really easy. Anytime I'm exercising self-care, I started color coding it purple. Purple is a color of royalty. And it was one of those colors for back in the times of Jesus and the Romans and the whole 9 yards, where the priority used to consider myself to be important. So I made that a priority. So anytime you're shaving, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, exercising, any kind of hygiene whatsoever, eating, sleeping is self-care. That's all purple time. It's all purple time. And they go, oh yeah, you know, I've got that now. So I went to bed at 11, woke up at 6. That's all purple time. I ate breakfast, so that from 6. If it's meditation time, so I'm gonna help you out with this. You can combine colors as well, and this is really cool. So let's keep it basic at first. Purple time was for self. I believe in feeding my body, mind, and my spirit. My mental time, feed your mind beautiful content. That's blue time, because I'm uploading. I'm bringing in great speakers. If it's TED Talks, if it's Audible books, whatever the case might be, your some of the best jokes are the most witty things you'll ever hear for the course of the day. And when you're laughing, you're actually engaging yourself. Then there's orange time, and orange time is anytime I'm working out my physical body. Really important, because you need a 30-30-30 a day. Out of 24 hours in a day, 24 is yours. 24 hours, that is, in access. But 90 minutes is unadulteratedly yours. And schedule it. So, again, body, orange. Mind, blue. Spiritual, white. This is for meditation, yoga. This is for prayer. This is anytime you're engaging self. Now, here's what's really cool. When you start to get more efficient with these things, you'll start to be able to find that you can start combining stuff. You could actually be doing yoga and getting a great workout. So your orange time and your white time are commingled. That half an hour, intense. You're sweating like crazy. You're centered. You're guided. For some people, that's church. That's a threefer. You're engaging your body, your mind, and your spirit. You're in celebration. You're in adulation. You're feeling the spirit within you. You're feeding your mind with great information and data. They go, man, that's intense. I go, it's awesome. But I'm going to remind you of something. You also need to get busy and be a good steward of your goals.
Yeah.
So work, or I will say the opportunities that come up, I made mine red, and they're all red. And here's what's cool about that. They're red, and as I progress through them, I actually give them a different color of green. Light green is I'm just starting out, I'm engaging. It's an email, a text, whatever the case might be. Medium is where I actually make an appointment. Green, dark green is where I'm like, I'm in this thing. I'm moving forward. Why is this important? Progress equals happiness. And here's what's really cool when you start to time block. And you can do whatever colors you want. Here's what's great. You go through and you look at where you have been investing your time. You will see and go, I've been feeling really good the last couple weeks. How much purple time have you had? How much orange time have you had? How much white time? How much blue time? They go, but isn't that selfish? I go, I didn't say it was devoid of yellow time, which is family time, love time, connection time, date nights. See, things that are important to you, and I've only named 4 or 5 things. These things can become your priority. To Veenu's point, you can get uber clear. But if all of a sudden you're like going, oh, yeah, the relationship hasn't been so hot. Why? Well, you haven't had any yellow time.
Yeah, when you prioritize it.
No.
So are you doing this on a calendar? Like, how do you, just for our listeners' sake?
So for Outlook, you can actually pick colors, and you can actually categorize this stuff. And on your iPhone as well. They'll actually make different calendars, and they'll go, oh, I have a workout. So they'll do the body, mind, and spirit ideology. And I go, I love this. because now they can start to see, and here's what's really cool. You can actually click off the calendars and turn them back on. So if you want to get really clear and do an accounting of your time, it's kind of like when you go back through your checking account or your savings account, and you go, oh, I wonder how many groceries I purchased. You hit the grocery button, boop. You hit the gas button, boop. Well, this, you get to have an accounting of your time. And please, if you take nothing else from this tonight, what prioritization, what time blocking can do for you with you when you're present is going to actually give you your net time back.
Yeah.
Because have you ever got stuck on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, where all of a sudden you're going, a half an hour went by, and all I did was watch like funny puppy videos. We have
you made some good points about like even when you're like seeing what's not working in your life, like how much time did you devote to it? And I love that you brought that up, because one of the things is like, as you seek, show you shall find. So what you put your intention and attention on grows. So if it's always on work, and what I love about the time block and the color is like, if you're really just doing it as you go and then look at your day, you actually get to see the whole week of like, how much time did you put into what and what created from that. So if it was all, I forgot what color you had work. I think it was like red and green, right? Red. And then you turned it green. So if it's all red and green, and there was like only a little bit of yellow, is there a question of what's suffering? If it's all yellow and very little red and green, is there a question of what's suffering? I mean, you could pretty much see where the areas are. One of the things that I specialize in understanding is the life wheel, and it's one of my favorite tools that I teach people on how to use, because it really gives you a clear measurement. But even with that, if you wanted to get more precise in figuring that out, I think your strategy, Chuck, is amazing to really figure out what's not working in your life. And it's all about the time that you invest in it. It's all about what you make a priority. It's all about what you're scheduling.
Yes.
And following through on. I think follow through is the biggest key here. It's like I tell people all the time, all the classes I teach is, knowledge is definitely power, but without activating it, that's all it is. Power for what? For your brain, for knowledge, for conversation. It's really about activating what you know. And it's like I tell my kids all the time, if you want better, you have to do better. You do.
You 1,000,000%. And so here's something that I know you'll appreciate. If you were to go back in that same calendar and you saw a lot of red time that wasn't converted to green time.
Oh yeah.
That means you had a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
Because now that's potential that's unrealized, to your point. The action wasn't taken. And I'm also going to recommend something to everyone. Stop overestimating the amount of time it takes to get stuff done.
Yes.
Okay? Break it down to 15-minute increments instead of hour blocks. Here's why. You know what 4 15-minute blocks is?
An hour.
And so here's the deal. If you go, oh, I need to make a phone call, and you blocked out an hour for a 2.5-minute phone call, even at 15 minutes, there's attrition to what's going on. The point in being is that you're going to have this little itty bitty sliver of green, and the rest of it's going to be red. So it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is such an ineffective use of your resources and time.
Right.
The other cool part, if you know you are an absolute raving fiend in the morning and you get stuff done, you have really engaging conversations that need to happen, block it. Set yourself up for success. But you're not going to go, oh, I have these 10 calls to make, and so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to schedule an hour. I go, well, if each call is in a minute or two, I go, in that 15-minute block, you've gotten all 10 calls done. Now, how do you set yourself up for even more success? Well, as you're getting more efficient, you're starting to notice trends. But here's a big part. In between your time blocks of these reds that you're converting to green, make sure you're putting at least 10 to 15 minutes of purple time in there. So if you've gone into, like, I know, Veenu, you have some very in-depth conversations with folks, and it takes a lot of energy to be a strategist. It takes a lot to be able to be present and deliver those results. So if you don't have water with you, if you don't have nutrition, if you don't take a moment to even breathe, and you're going right into the next session, it's not you can't do it, but will you really be as present and as full and as centered and guided as you could be?
And body movement. Like, I think that's one of the things that we forget also is body movement. And one of the things that, you know, you mentioned 𝙗𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙠𝙞𝙣 that he does is he schedules, like, to what's he's to grateful, you know, what he's grateful for, to move his body. Like, it's so interesting what we don't do. And we think that we're doing it because we're just getting through, you know, like, you can get through anything, but here's the deal is, are you celebrating? Are you going through it, not getting through it, but going through it and then celebrating? I mean, I think celebrating tells our brain that we did something great. And so I want it again. And it becomes a great addiction to celebration. That's why I tell people, you want to be addicted to something, be addicted to celebration.
Yes.
The celebration of what you're able to do and accomplish in a day, and celebrate it, because, you know, somebody said, like, my worst day, like someone else's worst day is, what is it? My worst day is someone's best day.
And definitely.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, your very worst day is someone's amazing, blessed, beautiful, outrageous day. And it's like, wait, what? Come on. It's like, hey, we have this thing called 21st century problems. Right. We live in the universe right now that where you ask for it, you can click a button online, and boy, I'll tell you what, if you're a Prime member, you may have it within the hour. Needless to say, the day. And it's like, wait a second. So think back to when you were a kid. I was like going, there's nothing that showed up on our doorstep. Nothing.
No.
It's like you had to go get it.
Or the snail mail, like, to be able to email someone the same day. No, I'm sending it in the mail, and hopefully you'll get it by Friday, depending on where you lived and where I was sending it to. And then we had to sign it, forget scanning it and sending it back. And then you had to send it back. You know, now everything's electronic. It's crazy. And how much we take advantage of that. You know, I could tell you, I'm going to call myself out, how many times I get mad. I pay for Amazon Prime and you say 2 days and it's not here in 2 days.
I know.
I'd be upset. Why? Because poor planning on my part. I needed something. I'm getting ready to go on a trip. I need something. I'm like, oh, I have Amazon Prime. I'm going to get it. Now I'm ready to go on my trip to, you know, the next day, and it's not here. And I'm so upset. And it's like, wow, how spoiled we have all become.
Oh, the expectation now is bananas. You said something that's really important. We all have these expectations about what needs to happen. And part of this is that there's so much capacity now. I don't know, you know, people that are living in scarcity, I go, what must be happening in your world that scarcity is your litmus standard for being?
Right.
Right? And so I love when you say this, be curious instead of critical. And why is that so important? Because now when we're inquisitive about potentiality, opportunities, and you don't have to schedule squat, because I'm going to tell you this, the sun's going to rise tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
The sun will set tomorrow night. It may rain, it may snow, it may be cloudy, it may be sunny, it may be a fresh day, it may be a smoky day. Yet 24 hours will come and go. So time blocking and prioritization is a perpetual opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. Because I don't believe there's a moment that someone wouldn't say, oh, yeah, I can leave right now. I'll just give it all up. I don't need, wait a second, what? Like, are you living your life fully? Are you embracing and celebrating your life? Are you cherishing these moments? I've yet to meet a person that said, I don't care. I'm ready. Let me check out. Good to go. I've lived everything. It's like going, okay, so
Yep.
you don't see your loved ones again. Well, I didn't say that. Well, yes, you just did. So why do I go there? If you're not exercising self care, then you're just living a slow life of change that's happening with or without you. And I love what you said about Joseph. And there's a reason why he's gotten so focused and myopic about all these reminders, because they're his reminders.
Correct.
They're no one else's. They're his reminders. They're to keep him centered, to keep him engaged, to keep him full, to keep him indulged in this thing called life. So for all of us, we get to decide.
And the choice is ours. And it's, where do you want to take your life? And I always tell people, looking at your life is, what you're doing, is it taking you towards what you want, or is it keeping you stagnant?
Yes.
Or matter of fact, pushing you back from what you want? And this one skill of time blocking and prioritizing, what Chuck and I were talking about, will definitely take you towards what you want. For those of you that feel that no matter what you do, you're on that hamster wheel of life where you're just going and going and going, I invite you to get off of it. And the best way to get off of it is to really start being present in what your days look like and what you choose to do with your day.
Yes.
I have been one of those people that didn't know how I was going to pay my bills tomorrow. And I had to wait for that paycheck to come. And I was living paycheck to paycheck. But I still every day got up, took a shower, got ready for my day, and did something. It didn't take money to do that. It doesn't take money to have a clean house. It doesn't take money to clean yourself. It's do something.
It does take some pride.
Yes, it does.
Self-pride, self-adulation, self-love, self-care. And there's nothing wrong with making you a priority.
Yes.
Especially when you live in service to others. See, that's this beautiful thing called life, because it's not about you just doing for others. When you are not in pain, is your capacity to love less or more? Stands to reason. When you're living in a prosperous state, is your ability to be able to see more opportunity and give clear guidance and counsel less or more? So in essence, what we're asking you to do is fuel you, feed you, so you can feed others. And prioritizing is a simple thing. Because if you had an hourglass, let's call it a day glass, and what gave you the ability of having another fresh new day tomorrow was optimizing today's day, how would you live your life? Would you have some fun? Would you celebrate? Would you be happy instead of pissed or upset or angry or frustrated or procrastinating? Just something to think about.
And think about, if you have a cup and you had a marble, for everything you did that day, you put a marble. Would your cup be full at the end of the day, or would it be empty?
I love it.
And it's really about, it goes back to what you said, full circle. And I know we only have a minute left, but it is the presence that we bring in our life each day, each moment. What are we present in that moment with? Are we present with the thoughts of what we are not doing, or what we don't have, or what we don't know what to do? Are we present in the moment of, what do I need to do? What do I get to do? What could I do in this moment?
Because remember, it's only a gift if you acknowledge it.
Yep.
If you ignore it, then literally you've just thrown something away that was very valuable.
Yep.
You're amazing, Veenu. I appreciate you, my friend. I love these conversations. Each just bubbles up and elevates even more. So
until next week.
Thank you, my friend. All the best.
Have a great week, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Live Now with Veenu and Chuck Hogan. Follow us on Instagram at Veenu Inspires and at Chuck Hogan Now. For more about Veenu, please visit VeenuInspires.com. And for Chuck, please check out YBLNow.com. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.